Fresh early morning here in Wesel, Germany. We want to do another camera comparison, the Vivo X200 Pro versus the Vivo X100 Ultra. So let's get started. Early morning here in Wesel. It's a bit of cloudy, but not raining at least. And we are trying out those two bad boys here, the Vivo X200 Pro versus the X100 Ultra. And you can see from the camera lens setup that is pretty similar. Triple lens setup on both. We have the 200 megapixel tele zoom, 3.7 times on both here, with a slight difference in lens setup, like the lens itself, the glass itself. On the X200 Pro, maybe a slight upgrade, maybe a downgrade, we will see. Timmy's here with me, as you see. A 1-inch sensor on the X100 Ultra, and we have a slightly smaller sensor, 1/1.28 inch on the X200 Pro, 50 megapixels both, and also a 50 megapixel ultra wide angle that is not getting too ultra wide there. And on the front we have both two 32 megapixel shooters here, and I think we start off with the front facing video. Front-facing video here on the Vivo X200 Pro, 32 megapixel camera, so we have the possibility to record 4K, 4K 30 and 4K 60. However, you only get the possibility to switch between the front and back-facing cameras using 4K 30. So I can switch now to the back-facing cameras, showing you what I see right now. There you can see. This is the Citadel of Wesel, and here's Timmy walking with me. We can go to the ultra wide angle there. You can see how easily it switches there. And yes, the sky is a bit of grayish. We have a grayish kind of morning. And yeah, if you want to zoom in, let's do it. Let's 2 times zoom, 3.7 times zoom. Look how smooth this zoom is. And then we can go up to 10 times zoom there. And if I want to, I can even go to 20x zoom there. I can even read what is there. And yeah, what do you think about this one here? 1x. And now let's go into vlogging style mode. Hopefully this is working. Probably not. What do you think about this one here in terms of vlogging style with the 1x sensor here? It's a smaller kind of sensor, but has a very large aperture there, f1.57. This is what I saw there when I was checking out the photos. So very large aperture. Should work fine to give you a nice creamy bokeh, and also in the dark should work fine. However, I think the larger pixels that you get on the 1-inch sensor might help with the 2x magnification. Maybe not for video, but for photos for sure. But we will check this out later on. So what do you think about this one here in terms of color, stabilization and so on? 4K 30 now on the Vivo X100 Ultra. We can do also 4K 60, and the good thing is we can switch between the front and back facing cameras even at 4K 60. But let's switch to the back facing cameras again. There you can see Citadel of Wesel. I think the exposure adjustment was a bit slower than on the X200 Pro. And we can of course zoom in. This is 2x, 3.7x, also very smooth, and 10x, and I think a bit more stable, at least on screen. And we can go up to 20x as you see here. So you can read everything that is in here. And let's go back to, I can read everything there even. Let's go back to the ultra wide angle. I have to use the slider there because my fingers are not so long. With one hand you can see Timmy is here still. And let's go to 1x and let's try to flip it over. So we go into the vlogging style mode with the 1-inch type sensor. Hopefully this is working fine. I'm not standing on the head right now. I think I should switch it. So I'm not standing on the head, switch hands, like this, yes, like this. Now I don't stand on the head anymore. 1-inch type sensor, also pretty large opening, f1.59 I think, or f1.6, something like this. So also for a 1-inch type sensor, it gets you lots of light and nice bokeh here inside of this one. And yeah, what do you think about this one here in terms of the quality of the X100 Ultra, stabilization? How does it compete with the X200 Pro? Both, by the way, using the external mic. So it's so windy here right now that I don't want to rely on the internal mics. What do you think about this one? Let's compare the videos, and we start off with the front-facing video. And yeah, both are not very good with the front-facing video, but the Vivo X200 Pro, where it doesn't have so much noise, is pretty blurry. And I can scroll here through and scrub through, and you can see, yeah, I get a shot that looks to be sharp. When I go in here, it's a bit blurry still. Stabilization is not good on either of them, but the 100 Ultra has a bit more noise for sure, but it's sharper and it's not so blurry all the time. Let's go a bit back there. So yeah, it's a bit noisy, but sharper as well. Get a bit more detail there. So if I have to choose one or the other, I probably go with the bit more noisy kind of shot on the 100 Ultra, but at least it is like not so blurry as the 200 Pro. When it comes to the main camera, so the switching, you can see here switching, it has like a little bit of the exposure overexposed, then it goes into the actual shot, where on the 100 Ultra, when I do this, you can see it took a little bit longer on the 100 Ultra, but it gets also to this shot. In terms of colors, I have to say I prefer the 200 Pro because it gets the mood of the scene a little bit more correct, where the sky is a bit too bright on the 100 Ultra there. And otherwise stabilization is nice. Switching between lenses is basically equal there. The ultra wide angle I checked out later on the 100 Ultra. Let's maybe go to the zoom. In terms of zooming, I think the only thing that I really don't like on the 200 Pro is it's not so stable as on the 100 Ultra. I was standing still there and when zooming in there. And on the 200 Pro, you can maybe see it. Let's mute it. It's a little bit shaky there. And here you can see it is not so shaky. A little bit shaky there as well, but it's not as shaky as on the 200 Pro. And then I finally managed to zoom out. When you zoomed out, you can see the ultra wide angle is also better in terms of colors, more accurate with the main cameras as you saw it here. There's no switching almost. And then yeah, of course, for some reason I did it wrong there first on the 100 Ultra. I did it completely wrong on the 200 Pro. So 200 Pro, I have to rotate it. Now I think we have it. And here on the 100 Ultra, I noticed my mistake and turned it over there. So there you can see the blur is much more pronounced on the 100 Ultra. Yes, for sure, you can see it. And this gives the more professional kind of look, but the colors are much better on the 200 Pro there, especially the face color. Look at it, it's not so yellow and overpunched colors like on the 100 Ultra, that's for sure. Everything else I like better on the 100 Ultra, I have to say. So the crispiness, the bokeh, even the stabilization seems to be a bit better on the 100 Ultra, but something that the 200 Pro definitely should get with software updates as well. I would like to see the color rendition of the 200 Pro for video also on the 100 Ultra, because you can see like the overpunched colors and a bit too yellowish, warmish kind of face on the 100 Ultra I don't like at all. So in general, when I have to give points here, I think the Vivo X100 Ultra is slightly ahead of the 200 Pro in terms of videos. But what is your thought? Write it down in the comment section. The photos on the left, always the X200 Pro, and on the right always the X100 Ultra. What we can see here on first glance, 23mm on both. Main camera sensor is a different kind of color. Even though we are using size natural colors on both, it looks a bit on the X200 Pro boosted somehow, where the X100 Ultra looks more towards what I really saw with my eyes. So it was a bit of a dull and grayish kind of day. And you maybe saw it also with the video, where the X200 Pro is boosting the colors a little bit for some reason. I'm not sure why that is the case, because I was photographing in the size natural mode on both. So something going on, I don't know. Let's go in, punch in for the details, 100% there. What we can see here is almost identical. There's not much of a difference between them, besides the little bit boosted colors there on the X200 Pro and a bit more warmish kind of white balance there as well. What we will see on second glance when you really pixel peep is that there is a bit of like an artificial kind of smartphone-ish kind of look that we see on the X200 Pro with the rendition, like everything there a little bit looks a little bit more natural, a bit more less smartphone-y kind of look. This comes from the sharpening up, because the X200 Pro is sharpening things up quite significantly. You can see it here, and this together with the contrast and so on, is adding the feeling of a little bit artificial kind of, you can see it here with the fence and with the bridge. Look how much sharpened up this completely looks like a little bit like painted, where the X100 Ultra doesn't have this feeling. But apart from this, I'm just like nitpicking here because I want to find the differences between those two. It's basically identical. So if I have to give them points, I would just give the Ultra the points for more natural colors there. But in terms of detail level, it's so close that I cannot tell them really apart there. So would get the same points. Let's go to the ultra wide angle. The ultra wide angle is a clear ultra more wider on the X100 Ultra with 14 millimeters, where we have 15 millimeters. We have f2.2, so it's slightly a bit slower kind of lens there. Shutter speed is the same. ISO is a bit lower. This is why we get a darker exposure. But again, we have a bit more punchy colors on the X200 Pro. When we punch in, you will see that both are not very fantastic, lose their details a little bit, but if you check here for the detail retrieval and so on, and also the contrast, I think the X100 Ultra is doing a better job. Look at all the little smears and smudges, and look how like smoothed out it looks like here, especially when you go then towards the side and the wall there. It's like not very good on the X200 Pro in comparison to the X100 Ultra. The X100 Ultra is winning here the ultra wide race for sure. Look how smeary this is, how much less detail we have on the X200 Pro, and the X100 Ultra is definitely better there. Telezoom, quite interesting again, color difference, but this is like at least consistent on the X200 Pro. The X100 Ultra is doing a fine job. 85 millimeters, not native on both there. It's this is the difference. Here you can see also clearly that the X200 Pro has a bit of more aggressive sharpening applied. You can see it here in the green grass and the rest of the house, that is a bit over sharpened, I would say, in comparison to the X100 Ultra that looks a little bit more natural there. So it is sharpening things up a little bit. The color difference is apart. It is sharpening things up a little bit, and you can see it here also around these little lines, especially, that they're a bit more sharpened up on the X200 Pro. Is it a bad look? No, it is quite okay, but I would say I would prefer the X100 Ultra so far. Now we have 10 times zoom on both, and let's see what they are doing here with the bridge. There you can see again the little bit slightly over sharpened look on the X200 Pro. You can of course change it on the X200 Pro as well, but by default this is what they took with their telephoto lenses, and you can see like more contrasty look, a bit more over sharpened, especially with those lines here, where yes, it's a bit sharpened up as well on the X100 Ultra, but far more natural looking there, also with a little bit more haze, that's for sure. So here still, I think, look at this here, compare it with this, I think it's a bit too over processed, too over baked. Look at the bushes that left there without any leaves. It's looking over processed on the X200 Pro, and the X100 Ultra more natural in my opinion, not so over processed looking there. So I would give this the X100 Ultra still, but when you zoom in more, like now we are going I think 30 times 460 millimeter. I have to like quickly do the math there, 20 times actually, and we punch in, then you can see there's an advantage of this a little bit slightly more processing that we have on the X200 Pro in comparison to the X100 Ultra. But still, I would say more natural looking is the X100 Ultra in comparison to the X200 Pro. But when we zoom in more, then of course, yeah, this is now 1380 millimeter divided by 23, which is like 60 times zoom on both, and you can see that they're using the same telesensor, but the processing is a bit better there. So when I punch in here, you can see, yes, you can see it, make it out, and here it's like too blurry there. So I would say maybe at this more punched in kind of things, you see a little bit more details on the X200 Pro because it's like doing a bit more magic there. But in general, I think the more natural look you still get with the X100 Ultra, even though I can agree, yes, it appears to be sharper, and it appears to be, because it is sharpened up a little bit on the X200 Pro. I'm not sure if I would want this on the X100 Ultra, the same look, because I think I prefer the look up until I think 20 times on the X100 Ultra. And just when you go beyond, then the X200 Pro is winning there. Selfies, both interesting. We have 23 and 24 millimeters. Otherwise, it's basically the same kind of lens. I think there's autofocus on the X100 Ultra, I'm not so sure. But when I crop into 100%, you can see there is a difference, and we can like check out the megapixels, because we have 36 megapixels for some reason on the X200 Pro, where we have 14.3 megapixels on the X100 Ultra. So I'm not sure what's going on there, what they did with their front-facing shooters there. But let me just zoom in the X200 Pro a little bit, and what we can see is like very, very similar in terms of colors. Maybe a slightly bit warmer there, slightly bit more detailed on my face. I think it's smoothing a little bit there on the X200 Pro, where the X100 Ultra it's not doing that. I think the colors are more pleasant. It's a bit too warmish looking on the X200 Pro, so I would give the front-facing camera to the X100 Ultra. But look at the bokeh and my hair, both struggle a little bit there. But I think the X100 Ultra struggles a little bit more with the cutout than the X200 Pro. But you can tell me which one you like better there. Also, in regards to colors, you can see, even though size natural colors, a bit more punchy than on the X100 Ultra. Then Timmy shot here 35 millimeters, so a slight crop. Suddenly it was moving on the X100 Ultra. This is why you have a bit an unsharp look. And here is again with the sharpening algorithms and so on, it's a bit sharpened up, but you can see like the cutout is pretty good. Let me get another shot there where I got him like at least this, and you can see like it's basically the same kind of cutout issues and so on. And in terms of detail levels, when you take a look at this here, I think there's not much of a difference there. I prefer still the colors on the X100 Ultra towards the more punchy colors on the X200 Ultra there. But the rest is basically the same. The focus fall off might be a little bit smoother there, but this is something to try out later on. When it comes to macro photography, I tried 10 times on this leaf, but I was a bit too far away, I think, there, so it didn't kick in. The only thing that I noticed in this shot is that we have a bit more contrasty look on the X200 Pro, and this leads to more details that we have here that we see on the leaf. Otherwise, the focus blur and so on, because I'm using the same sensor there, it's almost the same there. It's not much of a difference. Which one you prefer here? And then macro photography in general with the X100 Ultra, you can get a bit closer using the macro lens there. You go into macro mode and using the lens, you can get a bit closer with the X100 Ultra. The X200 Pro, you have to be a bit further away, so you cannot get as close. But when you go to 100% view, I think they're pretty even there. It's again a bit more contrasty look on the X200 Pro and a bit less contrasty look, a bit less sharpened up look on the X100 Ultra. But you be the judge here. This looks pretty nice. I have to grant it for the X200 Pro. But maybe slightly better on the X200 Pro. But you can step a bit back on the X100 Ultra and get a bit less shallow depth of field. So you get also a little bit more in focus there of the flower. So I would call it a draw almost, with the advantage of the X100 Ultra getting a little bit closer there to the object. Ultra wide angle, again, just to show you, demonstrate you the differences in terms of field of view. I tried it with this building there. You can see it's a bit more in the shot of this building than on the X200 Pro. In terms of detail levels, we were talking about this already, that there's a little bit with less detail on the X200 Pro. So I think the ultra wide angle is a win for the X100 Ultra. And then zoom shots again. Some people say that the 10 times zoom, especially on the X200 Pro, is a bit better than on the X100 Ultra. The only thing that I see is like more contrast and a bit more sharpening applied on the X200 Pro by default. So this is why we have a little bit more contrasty look on the X200 Pro that appears to be then sharper. When we go in 100% on a computer, for example, you can see that it is not really more details there. It's just a bit sharpened up, yes, granted, and a bit more contrast added. So it appears to be sharper, especially when you watch it on a phone screen side by side. So I was like, said, oh, okay, the X200 Pro really did something. But when I was looking at this on a big screen, as I'm doing right now, you can see there's not much to it. There's like actually not a huge difference between those two in those photos. And I would even say maybe the X100 Ultra is doing it a bit more just when it comes to what I saw with my own eyes. Then in this darker kind of situation where, this one, both here, we're using the night mode already. In this darker situation here, with the Selfie, both illuminated the front screen for the Selfie as a light, as a helpful source of light. And I think from the first glance, I think it's a bit overblown maybe on the X200 Pro, and it's a bit more, the exposure a bit more right on the X100 Ultra. But when you zoom in, you can see it's struggling, it's not the best there. But here, even we have so many megapixels, let's zoom out a little bit. It is a bit over-processed looking there for sure on the X200 Pro. And again, the details on my face are much nicer on the X100 Ultra. And I had beautifications turned off. I was double checking it again when I did the first shot there. But it was turned off, but still it's smoothing out stuff. And when you look at the hair, for example, it is smoothing this out as well. And the color, it got wrong. It's a bit too whitish looking there, and it's a bit more warmish looking here. And I prefer, again, the X100 Ultra when it comes to this, but they're very, very close. Probably could even give them the same kind of points there when it comes to this, which is like the preferential differences. Another shot with the main camera sensor, just to show you the differences. Also, like we have like another f-stop number here on this slightly smaller sensor, but you can see because of the f-stop number being so low, we have a brighter exposure there with higher ISO for some reason that it shows here, probably because of the cars passing by, and it wanted to have the shutter speed pretty high to get the cars in focus. So this might be the difference here, so don't take this into account. What we want to focus on is maybe some details there. Of course, yeah, because of the higher cars and the higher ISO, maybe there's a difference. But yes, I think still overall, you can see that the 1-inch sensor in general, the pixels here, look at the sign here with all the lettering and so on. It is a bit over sharpened maybe on the X100 Ultra looking, but it has also more detail there. It is a bit crisper. Look at the entrance back there, and look at here how smooth this looks like. We can even zoom beyond the 100%. So like I clicked 2 times, it might be, I don't even know what it is, like 400% now, 300%, something like this. That you can see that the details, when you really pixel peep, are better on the X100 Ultra with its 1-inch size sensor. But it's like really you have to pixel peep. So probably in the end, I will give them the same kind of points there, because all the other 1 over 1.28 inch size sensors got almost the same points as, got basically the same points in my ranking system as the 1-inch type sensors when they're made very well, because you don't really notice the difference. But it's like there is a difference, but I really have to pixel peep, and I have to see if I will maybe rank all the 1-inch type sensors 0.1 point more to show you the differences also in the ranking system, because especially when you go towards the side, you can see the difference in terms of detail levels there. Green grass, there is a definition where here is just smearing and smudgy. So this is something to keep in mind. And yeah, we will see if I will change the ranking system to the end of the video or not, if I decide to do it or not. I know what you are here for. You're here for the portrait shots, especially when it comes to being very close to Christmas. And usually I'm doing lots and lots of portrait shots, but I'm not always showing them because I have to edit them for privacy reasons here. My daughter, for example, I don't want to expose her face. So this is why I took the time now to do some adjustments so you don't see her face so much. But we want to check out those two in terms of portraits as well. So first of all, 50mm, which is like a 2x crop of the main camera sensor. What we can see here, even with size natural colors, is that we have a more warmish tone on my daughter's face there. The face color or the skin color. When it comes to the X200 Pro, it is a bit more whitish there. We know already one of my critiques of the X100 Ultra, especially in video mode, that faces are way too yellow and colors are way too punchy. You can see that there's a difference, and I think with the X200 they are like more following the path of the X100 Pro, which gives you a bit more whiter faces and less punchy colors, and you can see that clearly as well. Also the algorithm for anti-blurring algorithms for hairs, reconstruction of hairs and so on, eyebrows are a bit better, or is a bit better here on the X200 Pro. It's a bit softer on the X100 Ultra. But when you take a look at the detail level on the shirt, first of all, the color is more accurate on the X200 Pro. there is slightly bit, look at the sleeve here, slightly bit more detail on the X100 Ultra at 50 millimeters. Then what I noticed, especially when it comes to kids and dogs that I like to photograph, is that we have by default on the X200 Pro a higher shutter speed, which is very, very handy, because now I could get her almost in focus, as you can see when I zoom in. It's a bit reconstructed, it's a bit, artificial for sure, but it's way better than what the X100 Ultra was doing. There you can see 85 millimeter now portrait shot, and there we have only 1/33 of a second, where here we have 1/100th of a second on the X200 Pro. And this is like something that you will see in many shots, that we have a faster shutter speed, especially when it detects kids or dogs moving around, and this almost always resulted in a bit less blurry shot on the X200 Pro. This is the benefit of the X200 Pro. The white balance, however, on the X200 Pro, I think it's a bit tad too white there, maybe, where this is maybe a tad too warm. So there's something that they can still improve there, because the lights in this room are a bit more warmer. Then when it comes to dog shots, like with the 50 millimeter one, I captured also a possibility here. 50 millimeter is not using or utilizing the 3.7x zoom, but just a crop of the main sensor. I think the main sensor on the X100 Ultra, the 1-inch type sensor, is still doing a bit of a better job. You can see higher shutter speed there, a little bit higher ISO as well, but I got Timmy a little bit more in focus there than with the lower shutter speed on the X200 Pro. And I think it was focusing here in the foreground, where here it's actually focusing on Timmy. Then another shot here with Timmy standing still, so you can see the differences here again. Size natural color on both, but this time around the X200 Pro is brightening everything up, especially the floor here, and making everything a bit more punchy there, but also losing some detail. You can see it in the fur of Timmy's forehead here. Much more detail on the X100 Ultra in comparison to the X200 Pro. So this is like a huge difference. The other difference is like the background, of course, which I like a little bit better here, because it's like too brightened up for some reason on the 200 Pro. Otherwise, the cutout you can see is also, I think, a bit more artificial looking on the 200 Pro, where it's a bit more natural looking here on the 100 Ultra. But both are not perfect, of course, but all camera manufacturers struggle there a bit. Then a shot of myself. Yes, I shot myself with two hands. That's why the arms are left and right there. 50 millimeter, just to have like a detail comparison there. And there you can see the superiority of the 1-inch type sensor. You see those, it's a bit more dark and more contrasty looking on the 200 Pro, but you can see here that this is a bit more artificial, where we have a little bit more natural detail. It's also artificially sharpened up, brought up, but we have a bit more natural detail here in depth on the 100 Ultra for sure. And especially you can see it here on the side, for example, which is like, I think here, beard, hair and so on. It's something that is visible for sure, that the 100 Ultra has a slightly better main camera sensor. But it's a really slight kind of thing, because when you go in 85 millimeters or so on, it's almost always the case that the 200 Pro is winning against the 100 Ultra. There's just a few cases where I think the 100 Ultra, like in this case, got a better shot out of here. And yeah, you can see it here. Almost always, like here, higher shutter speed, way higher shutter speed made my daughter like in focus still, where here it's completely blurry, too fast for the camera to shoot. And here, even if you zoom in further, we have a very interesting kind of effect there. So this is now, what is it, roughly 5 times 5.9 times, I think it is, 135-ish millimeter. Here's like a little bit less. I think I double pressed the 3.7x, and then it's like something doubled almost. In any way, what you can see, the way more contrasty look on the 200 Pro, even though it's size natural on both. A bit warmer, less contrasty look there. And when we zoom in, you can see, yeah, in terms of detail level, I think maybe you look at here, maybe a bit more detail on the 100 Ultra in comparison to the 200 Pro, both have the same slow kind of shutter speed there, and just the ISO is a bit higher on the 200 Pro. That might also be one of the causes, but yeah, you can see the more punched up contrast there. And then my daughter here again, 85mm versus 85. Everyone is praising the 85 and saying it is like better in terms of detail, but I think that sometimes it can fail. I look at the detail of the hair of my daughter here. It's perfectly captured on the 100 Ultra, where here it is smoothened out completely. So the algorithm is a different one, but I prefer still the 100 Ultra because the detail of the hair here, especially in this case, is much better. And I think it's smoothing everything a little bit out there to make it look a bit better when it comes to further away subjects or objects. But the detail amount here, at least in this case, is a bit better. But that's the only thing. So I think how to fix the X100 Ultra: give it the faster shutter speed by default when photographing in portrait mode in indoor situation, especially Christmas situation or something like this. Then the 100 Ultra would beat the 200 Pro because it also has a bit more detail level there. And I think even though it is a different lens there, I think they downgraded the lens a little bit on the 200 Pro. Otherwise, the processing of the 200 Pro currently is beating the 100 Ultra, and even at 35mm you can see the processing here cannot rescue the 200 Ultra when it comes to the main camera sensor. It's just simply miles ahead on the 100 Ultra there in terms of how natural it looks like. So portraits in general, as you see here, I think it is a bit of a mixed bag. I think the X200 Pro is winning when it comes to 85 and beyond in terms of zoom because of the better algorithm that keeps or maintains a higher shutter speed, where the X100 Ultra has still a bit more detail even at the 85 to 135 range there. But it fails with the shutter speed. This is why fast moving subjects mostly will get blurry. When it comes to 35 to 50mm, the other typical portrait shot length, I think the 1-inch sensor on the X100 Ultra is showing its strength and definitely better than the X200 Pro. So in total, I think it is a slight win for the X100 Ultra still when it comes to portrait shots, but the X200 Pro is not far off for sure. The night photos, and yes, if you think there's something missing, yes, the night videos are just somehow I forgot making them. It doesn't matter in this case. The night photos are speaking for themselves. First of all, we check out the difference with 23mm, the main camera sensor. We have a bit of a warmer exposure on the 200 Pro, where the 100 Ultra is a bit white, a bit more colder, so a bit more white, the light here. Actually, I prefer the more warmer light on the 200 Pro, but apart from this, it's very, very close and you have to pixel peep to see the differences. But there is, I think, also look at here, the background there is a bit more detail on the 100 Ultra. So the sensor is very good that they have on the 200 Pro, but it's a slight downgrade still to the Ultra. So there's a reason why you even after like, what is it, 3 or 4 months after the 100 Ultra, that you should still, when you're considering buying the 200 Pro or the 100 Ultra, to consider the 100 Ultra, because the main camera sensor is a bit better. Look at the details here, especially around the sign and this alarm signal kind of, I don't know how to call this thing, siren, with a little blinking light there. It's more detailed on the 100 Ultra for sure. Then we take a look at the 85mm, and here I think the processing on the 200 Pro, even though we have the same kind of sensor there, but we have a different lens for sure. The processing on the 200 Pro is a bit better. You can see the dynamic range is a bit better, especially here with this red light that is like illuminating the whole Berlin Gate from the back. You can see there's like completely overexposure, completely red almost in the 100 Ultra, where the 200 Pro is showing a little bit more there of this sign there. And also you can see it here with the color of the bulb. You can even see the 3 bulbs that are inside, where here it's just like completely overblown there. But the lights are for some reason green here. They were blue, or yeah, this They were not green for sure. Otherwise, this one here, you can see a bit more contrasty look, and I think less overexposed than on the 100 Ultra. So yes, the 200 Pro did a better job there with the bezel on ice as well. You can see this is blue, where this is here dark, almost black kind of, which actually is blue, but it wasn't visible. There's blue there, so the exposure was raised a bit too much on the 100 Ultra, maybe a bit too dark and dull on the 200 Pro, but this is how I saw it with my own eyes. Ultra wide angle is a clear win for the 100 Ultra. You can see on first glance what I was telling you about the overexposure and less details on the bell and gate that is eliminated with this red light. You can see when I zoom in already, quality is going down quite a bit, where it's also going quite a bit down on the 100 Ultra, but you can see way more details there, especially in the brickwork, and it's not overexposing so much the lights there. So yes, it is a better ultra wide angle for sure on the 100 Ultra, and the 100 Ultra doesn't have the best. So that means like, yes, the 200 Pro is cheaping out a little bit there on the ultra wide angle for sure. Noise level almost the same, I would say. There's again a bit of like this bluish kind of light is more realistic towards what the greenish kind of light is showing here on the 200 Pro. And also here this light you can see overblown, where here it's like also a bit overblown, but you can see some structure if you look carefully there. So ultra wide angle definitely better on the 100 Ultra. This looks to be more this is 10 times zoom now. Like again, better processing on the 200 Pro because I like it, I prefer it just without zooming in already. The sky is dark, so it is dark there, where here's brightening everything a bit up, and you can see a bit of a color cast, a bit of magenta kind of color cast there in the background, which is not so good looking. And when I zoom in to 100%, you can see it doesn't look good on the Ultra, but to be granted, it doesn't look good on the 200 Pro either, but it's a bit better. They're controlling the highlights a little bit better there. And the more you zoom in, the more it becomes apparent here as well that the 200 Pro has the better algorithm for the zooming effect. That is a bit over sharpened on the 200 Pro for sure, but I think the exposure level, the HDR level is a bit better there as well. You can see it here. So I prefer here the 200 Pro. And then we have 23 millimeters here. You can see the difference in warmth with the main camera sensor. So we have a much warmer exposure on the Vivo X100 Ultra in comparison to the 200 Pro. And when it comes to capturing those moving subjects, not fast moving subjects, but a bit of moving subject, you can see both chose the wrong kind of shutter speed for this. It's a bit hard. It's a static object, and then inside of there, these figurines are like moving. You can see like here the windmill is like moving them around. You can see that it's like also only taken split seconds apart from each other. That there is a bit more detail level. If you take a look at the closer look here at the woodwork, compare it to the X200 Pro, especially when we like go in here, you can also see it eventually that there's a bit more details there on the 100 Ultra in comparison to the 200 Pro. And the white balance difference, where it's I'm hard to tell. You can see that here is the light is off and here the light is on, because like a split second apart from each other, and they're turning the light on and off there. So that might also have distracted the 200 Pro there. Let's go to the bell and gate again, and we want to do a real comparison. Which one has the better sensor? Is the 200 Pro sensor really keeping up with the 100 Ultra sensors like it did in daylight? Or almost in daylight. You can see in daylight you saw that there's a bit of more detail on the 100 Ultra, but in nighttime it becomes more apparent. And the 23mm not so much. There's only a little bit of more contrast there, and I like the sky color a little bit better. But when you look very carefully here on this statue basically on top of the bell and gate, you see that there is a bit more detail on the 100 Ultra, and it becomes very apparent. There's a little more contrast as well. But you can also see that the aperture f1.75, f5.7, even though f5.7 smaller sensor, we have more focus, especially here on the side, where here it becomes very apparent that the 100 Ultra has already this here out of focus, basically this area. A bit of distortion more maybe as well. but out of focus already. This is why it's not completely sharp there, and this goes also for the other side there. So it's like the optical borderline still usable kind of aperture that they have. And this is something that you, when you use the 100 Ultra, also notice in video mode. But nevertheless, let's go to 50mm or almost 50mm, like 2x zoom there. And first glance, nothing. Again, a little bit more warmer colors on the 100 Ultra, a bit more contrasty looking. But when you go in here at the statue, it doesn't look perfect yet, but the detail level. Yes, the 100 Ultra's main camera sensor, the 1-inch type sensor, despite the fact what Vivo is telling you that it's almost the same. Yes, almost the same, but no. It's still better. The 1-inch type sensor is still better. Physics is better than computational photography still in this case. So maybe in a few years they can reach this output as well with smaller, tinier sensors, but 1-inch type sensor on the 100 Ultra is still beating the smaller kind of 101.28 inch size sensor. Selfies here, almost the same. Again, a little bit darker look on the 100 Ultra, a bit more brightened up look there, a bit warmer face color here that usually don't prefer so much. When you go into detail level, you can see both are doing not so great of a job. There's a bit of noise going on. Let's go. Actually, I wanted to go in here because we have, this is interesting, 24 versus 23mm, but for some reason, and you cannot see it here, this is like 36.6 megapixels. I don't know why this has this weird number. This is 14 megapixels. So this is why. Let's zoom out a little bit there, and you can see, yes, it's a bit reconstructing my eyebrows there. It's a bit of artificial intelligence trying to perform and beautify my face, but it is better. It is clearly better on the 200 Pro. So the selfie cam, at least at night, I would give to the 200 Pro there, even though we have autofocus on the 100 Ultra, but the 100 Ultra is just like too noisy, and no. And both illuminating my face with the screen, that helps a lot. Bokeh looks nice as well and creamy. Both struggle a bit with my hair there, but yeah, it's a bit more sharpened up look on the 200 Pro and a bit more contrasty look there, but still I prefer the 200 Pro there. You can write down in the comment section what you think about this one here in general. And now let's go to stage light mode or stage mode. Both have this mode there. So I was photographing now at what was it, 20 times or whatever, 460. I have to like check it out, divided by 23, 20 times exactly. And we can see also a difference there already. It appears to be a bit blurry on the 100 Ultra, where with the same shutter speed, it looks not so blurry on the 200 Pro. But it comes down to processing, because it have faster or better processing on the 200 Pro. But when I zoom in, you can see, it looks like repainted, where here it's like a bit soft and then try to repaint. And especially this woman here looks like not so great, but here it looks like a mask already. So yeah. This is that, and you can see like the stage light or stage mode is working fine here, and the same is not a fluke. It's like always a little bit better processed looking, at least when you zoom out on the 200 Pro. When you, as soon as you start to go to 100%, forget about it. As you can see here as well, like it's doing heavy processing there to make this look a little bit better there, especially when you don't zoom in so much. And then we go to, again, main camera sensor, just to prove you also that dynamic range is better on the 1-inch type sensor. You can see here, you can almost read everything, where here it's like completely unreadable and less detailed and overexposed. Yeah, that's it for nighttime. So yes, 1-inch type sensor is still beating, it's better. Algorithms are better, so the tele zoom lens is better on the 200 Pro. And I think the ultra wide angle is a clear win for the 100 Ultra as well. Let's come to my conclusion and ranking. TLDR, the X100 Ultra is the old and new champion with 4.585 points, where the X200 Pro gets 4.555 points and is number 2. What we clearly saw with my detailed comparison is that the main camera photo quality, the 1-inch type sensor on the Ultra, is better. It's slightly better in daylight, and it gets more and more better when you zoom in, for example, 35mm or 50mm, and you look at the details there, you clearly see that the X100 Ultra is winning against the 200 Pro there. The 200 Pro, especially when it comes to lower lights, you see the difference even more. Otherwise, it has a very good main sensor still, but I would still call it, yeah, there's a reason why they call it Pro and not Ultra anymore, because this is a slight downgrade and it's not an upgrade for the 100 Ultra. Ultra wide angle showing this as well, because this is like a little bit more of a downgrade there. I think this is the weakest sensor that we have on the 200 Pro. I give it 4.1 points there. I have to compare it with the X100 Pro still to see if it can hold up there, or if I have to go lower even with the ultra wide angle. I was a little bit disappointed by the ultra wide angle. Not by much, but it is better on the 100 Ultra. It's a wider field of view, you get more details, better HDR and so on. Where I was positively surprised is the telezoom lens. Even though on paper it seems to be the same kind of sensor, but different lens setup, I think the processing and maybe the lens setup as well has something to do with it, helps the X200 Pro winning the crown here against the X100 Ultra in zooming performance. Most of the time it's equally good, but the processing is sometimes so much better on the 200 Pro that I would say yes, the 200 Pro is the one that I prefer. When it comes to portrait shots, however, I still prefer the 100 Ultra to be a bit more realistic looking, a little bit less processed looking, where the 200 Pro is not bad at all, but it's just like if you have them side by side, the best of the best, you have to choose one, then I would go with the 100 Ultra. The only thing that is keeping me down there is the performance in indoors, with the shutter speed being so low on the 100 Ultra that if you have a kid running around, a dog running around, you probably only get blurry shots with the 100 Ultra. You have to switch to the special snapshot mode, but then you don't get the quality that you kind of expect. So the 200 Pro is definitely for Christmas shots, for example, with the portrait lens, definitely way better there in this regard. Video recording quality overall, I think I give it to the 100 Ultra. The better main camera sensor is what you see there. A little bit more details there. I don't like the colors still. This is why 4.6 points only. But the blur, the background blur is better. I think even the front-facing camera, even though it is very, very noisy on the 100 Ultra, it's not as smeary as it is on the 200 Pro. It's too smeary on the 200 Pro, even though the front-facing camera, and we come to this just in a second, I think is a bit better on the 200 Pro. Autofocus performance is the same. Yes, the 100 Ultra has sometimes these focus issues there when you get a bit too close. This is the combination of large aperture and large sensor. We have a large aperture and a little bit tinier sensor, and then on the Ultra, I didn't notice that so much on the 200 Pro, so maybe it has improved, but I give it now the benefit of the doubt because all of them are basically the same and using the same technology here for the focusing, that I give it the same kind of focusing points. If I notice anything worse on the 200 Pro, will of course go down there with the points, but I think it is basically equal to the 100 Ultra. Front-facing camera, however, is a tiny bit better for photo shots, normal photo shots on the 200 Pro. I think it is maybe the higher resolution that gives you the perception of a little bit more details. It's a bit more processed for sure as well than on the Ultra, but I think especially at lower light it is so much better on the 200 Pro, because in daylight probably you don't notice the difference there, and maybe sometimes the 100 Ultra is beating the 200 Pro, but at nighttime it's such a significant difference there, where the 200 Pro is significantly better than the 100 Ultra, that I have to give it here 0.1 point more. Camera UI is basically the same. There's slight differences. There's a new landscape mode added on the 200 Pro instead of having, I think, the night mode. Was it the night mode? I think the night mode. They have a landscape mode now that has various different landscapes, scenes, but I hope that will come to the Ultra as well. And extra features, there are plenty of extra features. Pro mode, Pro video mode, with tons of features, like one of the only camera applications and Pro modes that allows you to shoot video in PAL formats, like 25 frames per second and 50 frames per second, such things, which is quite good. 120 frames per second is also possible for slow motion, such things. So I like them both there. Where does it lead us to in my ranking list? Of course, I said already, spoiled it already, the Vivo X100 Ultra is still on top, number 1. And then number 2, we have the Find X7 Ultra. Guess what? It has the better ultra-wide angle than the 200 Pro, which comes in third here in my ranking, as you see. The better zoom camera photo quality, however, has the 200 Pro there. When it comes to video recording quality, I think the one thing that you cannot beat is the Find X7 Ultra, because its colors are so accurate, the zoom is like so smooth, and the stabilization is so much better on the Vivo devices that I have to give it the win here. 4.7 points, even beating the iPhones in terms of video, where I'm very surprised. And even front-facing video is very, very good. Not the strongest there for sure, but it's pretty good there and very solid. So you get the best video performance probably with the Oppo. And if you have to ask me which device would you get for Christmas for getting shots right, then I would go, however, with the Vivo X200 Pro, just simply because of the very good zoom camera. You can see the score here, 4.9, and the fast shutter speed in combination with this, which always gives you very nice results. Yes, when you have a still subject, I think for portrait shots, the Find X7 Ultra gives you a bit more, a bit better portrait shots there still, but it can be somehow a bit slow as well in terms of shutter speed. This is why it's not the best there for the portraits for Christmas if you have fast moving subjects. Otherwise everyone is like standing still, then the Oppo might be the best there for sure as well. What do we have there? Autofocus performance is the same. You can see front-facing camera is a bit better on the 200 Pro and is equally good as the Find X7 Ultra. I have to test it out, both those two maybe. Camera UI is definitely a win for the 200 Pro because the Oppo misses a few features that are accessible with one hand, for example, and also Pro Video mode and such things are missing. This is why the extra features are also a little bit lower there in terms of those kinds of things there. Otherwise, what comes forth is the Honor Magic 6 RSR, basically the same main camera sensor. Basically, I'm saying I have to compare them as well. I think, and this is just my impression so far, the Oppo has a superior main camera sensor still. It is not the 4.9 points because the detail level is lacking there, but HDR is better. This is like where this sensor is specializing on. HDR is better. Now, HDR testing is in winter times a bit hard. Where the Magic also is better is an ultra wide angle. And zoom camera photo quality. I hope, really hope that this huge zoom update that should arrive on the Magic 7 series will also drip down to the Magic 6 series, and we get an update there. At least we get an update when it comes to the hardcore portrait shot mode for the Honor Magic 6 series. That will boost the zoom camera photo quality as well, at least 1 point, if not even 2 points up here for portraits, because this will have a huge impact for sure. I hope at least. In terms of videography, I still think the Honor Magic 6 RSR is doing a little bit of a better video thing here in total, just because the front-facing camera is better than the X200 Pro. I can tell you this directly. It's not so smeary, and this is an issue with the 200 Pro. If they fix this, then we might also get some points more there. But I also think the HDR is a bit better. Stabilization is way better on the Magic 6 RSR, also when it comes to zooming shots. For now, at least. Updates can fix this for the Vivo for sure. And the autofocus performance they have LiDAR sensor. Magic 6 RSR has a LiDAR sensor. It is spot on almost always. It's not as great as the Champ, which is the Xperia 1 Mark 6 and the Xperia 1 Mark 5. That I don't know how they do it. They use AI apparently on the 1 Mark 6, but its Sony autofocus is like the most reliable that you can get on planet Earth. Probably, at least in a smartphone. Second, there would be then the Magic 6 RSR with its LiDAR sensor tech that is also very reliable. It has very good front-facing camera. This is for photos beating all the top 3 there. And camera UI features, it has slightly better than what the Find X7 Ultra has there. Slightly worse what the X200 Pro has there. Actually not slightly better than the Oppo, it's like definitely better than the Oppo, but slightly worse than the X200 Pro there. In terms of extra features, it's also a little bit lacking there. I think the extra features on the Vivos are almost unbeatable currently. So that's it for this camera comparison. Hope you enjoyed it. If you have some questions, if you have some comments regarding the ranking list, regarding my results here, write them down in the comment section. That's it. Until the next time. Bye.